Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. And I was I was sitting here and I was thinking about this video I just saw. I just saw that there was something done by two of my respected friends, Shaquita Graham and No Malanga with Shally Moses. And what they were talking about is Damon John, the FUBU guy who's on Shark Tank, and how he married. He's engaged to this white woman, and I think her name's Heather or something like that. And I think they also brought. Well, I know for me they brought to mind another prominent brother who's got a whole lot going on, who's got a lot of money, who married a white woman, Robert Smith, I think that's his name. And he's actually a good dude. He actually gave money to the new African American History Museum at the Smithsonian, and stuff like that. So it seems like he's trying to do some good stuff with his money. I respect him. But anyway, they made an interesting conversation about just the mentality of black men that feel the need to be with white women, and that's a complicated conversation, right? Because love is not supposed to have these racial parameters. You're supposed to be able to love who you want, and I think everybody has the right to love who they want. Now, DJ of the Day is saying the museum was dope. It was a beautiful museum. I went to the museum. It was very beautiful. It was beautiful, but at the same time, I felt like it had a heavy emphasis on entertainment, really almost too heavy. It made me feel uncomfortable when the biggest displays I saw were, black basketball players and football players and boxers and everything else. I kind of felt that, that we as black people, because we've been typecast by white America, because entertainment has been our only pathway to success, we over define ourselves as entertainers. We overcompensate in that area. So the entertainers end up kind of taking the lead. We worship entertainers. Entertainers have the most money. If you look at the donations on the museum, most of the donations came from entertainers. And from whether you're talking about Michael Jordan's foundation giving money, and Oprah Winfrey, and Tyler Perry, and most of the names you saw were entertainment names. And I just dream of a day where we can really visualize black success as being outside of singing and dancing for white people, or just putting on TV shows with white television networks, or white companies that do our distribution deals, things like that. I mean, I just think that we have so much more we can do for the world that goes beyond just entertainment, right? Entertainment and assimilation. Let's not forget that. Now, speaking of assimilation, No Malanga and Shaquita, they actually did the video on my YouTube channel, which, in case you don't know, it's at youtube.com/Dr Boyce Watkins, youtube.com/Dr Boyce Watkins, which is a great channel, by the way. We get over 3 million views a month, and it's mostly black people. So this is one of our efforts to develop our own media outlet. On the channel, they were talking about just sort of the pressure to assimilate. The way we view assimilation as the pathway to success as black people. As black people, we tend to believe that proximity to the white man is almost like having the same power as the white man. It's almost like saying that we've been successful. Like, mama, I made it. Because the white man let me in his building. He's put a label on me. I'm working for his company. I got a big corner office. He's giving me plenty of money, and they gave me an award to go with it. So therefore, look at me, mama, I made it. Well, the question is, what if you made it by doing something that's ridiculous? What if you made it by hurting your community? What if you made it by engaging in embarrassing coonery and fulfilling racial stereotypes? What if you made it like some of these rappers who get in front of crowds full of white people and call themselves niggas and celebrate black genocide in front of white people who cheer them on because they love that? Like, oh, yeah, shoot that nigga. I mean, there's got to be something really disturbing. The thing about racism to me is that racism makes you look at something that's clearly abnormal and to think it's normal. Racism normalizes the insane. It makes you think that something represents success when really it's the epitome of failure. We think something represents progress when it's the epitome of going backward. We think something represents constructive development when actually it's a complete self-destruction, complete genocide almost. And so, when I look at what we think of as black success, there you go. DJ Jelly Roll says a point right. It's funny with these Twitter names. I love it. He says that we're the only race that raps about killing each other. And that's so true. I mean, you can never in a million years sit and feel comfortable about hearing a black rapper in front of a crowd full of white people say, kill that nigga, and have the white people start cheering. That's like a fucking Klan rally. Excuse my French. That's some old KKK shit. Seriously, seriously. I mean, it's like really. I mean, think about that. I saw that. I remember seeing a Dr. Dre Snoop Dogg concert, and it was mostly white people in the crowd. I think they might have been in Europe or something. And literally, they showed this video where Dr. Dre and Snoop, doing the whole like I'm the hip hop superhero thing. We some bad niggas, we carry guns, whatever. So then the video, they're in a convenience store, and a black dude comes in, he's gonna rob the store. And then suddenly Snoop sees the robbery going on. He pulls out his gun. Dre pulls out his gun. They busting on each other, whatever, right? And then the guy falls to the ground. And he's like, ah! And he's a black man. And Snoop Dogg says something like I think he said something like I think Dre said, "Kill that nigga," or Snoop said, "Die nigga, die," or something. It was something like that. And the crowd went crazy. That was when they came out and everybody's cheering and going nuts. And I just think that that's the most interesting thing. Like, you've got to really think about that, how sick that is. You got a crowd full of white people that are cheering you on when you just, as a black man, talked about murdering your own people, killing your own people. You're celebrating and singing and dancing to your own genocide. It's the craziest thing. So anyway, I want to go back to the topic. The reason I actually did this live stream, because that's when my little ADD starts kicking in. I start going all over the place, but I hope it's okay. I hope it's helpful to you. But I want to give you some, ways to kind of analyze some of this. And look, here's the thing. So Shaquita and Nomalanga, who run a site, their site's, I think it's marriedwomensbiz.com. They're two black women who are married in their mid to late 30s who talk about issues that you don't see on mainstream TV. And one of the things that they were saying is they were talking about just the mindset of many black men who lead them to feel that, they're having a white woman on their arm represents some kind of progress. But then you can't just say it's just the brothers. It ain't just the brothers. The sisters. You got a lot of sisters that are on Scandal like this, watching hanging on every word that's coming out of Kerry Washington's mouth, even though she's that white man's mistress, right? They loving some scandal. So let's not sit here and act like black men are the only ones, right? And you can't pretend also that this don't link back to history. This don't link back to the plantation. That woman on Scandal, when she's that white man's mistress, because apparently, I guess, because she's an educated black woman, she can't find no love, no men that can keep up with her. That's just like the black, the light-skinned black woman they pull into the house and be next to Massa, having babies with Massa or whatever, right? Same thing is true in corporate America. That black woman can get right next to that white man in that corporation, but the black man is not going to be allowed to do that. A strong heterosexual black male is probably one of the most least likely groups in America to be successful in corporate America. In fact, I found a study that said that basically the only group of people in America, in corporate America, who have salaries that are equivalent to white males are gay black men. Gay black men. And then you move down a little bit, you got white women, then below that you got black women. Then way down below that you got heterosexual black males. Well, those first three categories come down to who the white male thinks he might be able to have sex with, who he's comfortable having by his side. So for black men in this category in the bottom, your problem is you're thinking that you can go in as if you're a black woman and that white man's going to like you just like he likes that pretty black girl with the nice booty. Because black women are the most beautiful women in the world. So that they're gonna be attracted to them. But no, you're not her. It's not going to work for you. So you need to learn how to go build your own stuff. Get together with your brothers and build something that's going to be yours so that you can have your own castle. So you can then invite people into your house. Because you can't move into somebody else's house and try to ask them to move around the furniture. They're not going to do that. So anyway, with that said, this whole Damon John thing, Damon John got engaged to Shaquita was like, she said, so let's look at a picture of Becky. I mean, Heather. That's I thought that was so funny. But anyway, so you see that, and and she mentioned a point that I didn't know. She said Damon was actually raised by a Jewish family, or no, his mother married a white man, and he was raised by Jewish people, and that's a good way to be successful. I think Lee Daniels, he's connected deeply with the Jewish, white, and gay communities, so that's why Lee Daniels has no problem getting a movie deal or a TV deal passed with white, Jewish, gay people, because those are the ones who run Hollywood. And so kind of, again, what we think of as success is a lot of times is related to assimilation. I'm sure there's plenty of other black men out here that know business. They can sit on Shark Tank and be next to Mark Cuban and stuff like that. I know plenty of people who have PhDs in business. I know people who built multi-million-dollar companies. I know people who know all kinds of business who will be great on a show like Shark Tank. But a lot of times people tend to pick the people that they know, the people that they can relate to. So so Damon relates to that culture. And I mean, I'm not disrespecting it. It is what it is. In fact, but I think I saw the poor brother. I think I saw him at a Halloween party with a wig on, like dressed as a woman, and again, that's another, kind of concern I have with all the brothers that end up in Hollywood dressing as women. What is up with that? What's going on with that? I believe that there's something about it, something either endearing or attractive to Hollywood white males to seeing a big strong black man wearing a wig or a dress. I think that there's something going on there, something that makes them comfortable, maybe something sexual in some cases. So I think that as black men, we got to think about these things and really think about, are you bending over literally and figuratively to be successful? Well, that ain't really success. That's capitulation. That's emasculation. That's you sort of allowing them to conquer your race and saying, okay, you conquered me. Just give me some trinkets, massa. I'm gonna be all right. So anyway, with that said, people have asked me what I think about interracial dating and stuff like that, and I don't really talk much about it that much because I don't really like spilling over into my personal life and trying to sort of be an expert on any of that, because like everybody else, I have my own life and I've made good decisions and bad ones, and I try to make good ones, but I can say that when I think about interracial dating, I'm okay with people loving who they love. That's the problem. That's what makes it complex. Because sometimes you might meet that white person who really relates to you. I knew a brother who married a white woman who studied. She majored in African American studies. She was blacker than he was. I was like, that's a good woman for him because she's gonna help him get in touch with his blackness. So I mean, because really, this brother wasn't no assalamu alaikum black power type of dude. He was like, well, Bob, I really think that the party was fabulous, Bob. He was in a white fraternity. I mean, he really wanted to be white, and he married a white woman, but she was very, very black. And I was like, this is interesting. Right? It's like reversing roles. But I was happy for him. I was like, okay, you're good. He's got somebody that's going to help him know his blackness. But I think overall, even though we love who we love, at the same time, you can't pretend like you can't choose who to love. You can't pretend like you have no say in the process. Then like, oh, it just happened. I just slipped and fell and landed inside a white woman's vagina. No. You made a choice, and your choices are driven by your conscious and subconscious behavior and perceptions. As a black man, I've always known where black women were located. I've always wanted to find where black women were if I was choosing to date or looking for someone to marry. I never got married. I got engaged to an awesome woman who was black, but she was from Panama. She was an AKA, though. I didn't even know she was actually Latino until we've been dating for 2 weeks, but she identified as a black woman, which is fine because Latino people are as black as we are, if not more so. More African slaves went to South America than to North America anyway. So you got some of these Latinos that are so confused. Not all of them, but some of them just really thinking they ain't black, thinking they're better than dark-skinned people, when the fact is you African just like me. Most of them are, not everybody, but a lot of them. And so anyway, so I was engaged to her. We didn't get married, and so, but at the same time though, I've never thought. I remember the moment I decided. Two things happened that made me decide that I'm only interested in black women. One was when I was 15, I did like a white girl. I think her name was Christy or something. And for a little bit, she was on my track team, and I liked her, and I used to call her, and I actually took her to see the Spike Lee movie School Days. That's how long ago it was. And then I remember she stopped talking to me, and the reason she stopped talking to me was because her daddy told her, "Don't be talking to no black boys." And I didn't understand that racism was like, what? Like, I didn't do anything. I met her father. He acted like he liked me, and it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. And after that, I was like, I'm not doing that no more. And then the other thing that got me was my mother said something like, well, it's hard out here as a black woman to find a black man you can marry. And at that time, because I love my mother, I said, when I get married, I'm gonna marry a black woman because I want to be part of the solution. I don't want them to feel abandoned. I don't want black women to feel like we don't love them or we don't care about them, because I love my mama. And because I love my mama, then if I get married, I will love a black woman. And I think that mama piece is real important, because I think you got a lot of brothers out here that don't like black women because they don't like their mama. They have an issue with their mama. Their mama was maybe their mama did things to hurt their feelings, or their mama was a prostitute, or their mama was on crack, or whatever. And so as a result, some of these guys just feel like, I'm going to get away from that because black women are crazy. Black women ain't jack. whatever. I know one guy whose mother was he really disappointed him during childhood, and the next thing I knew, like this guy, unfortunately, he was one of the biggest womanizers I've ever seen, and I think that it was because he just sort of felt that women hurt you, they let you down. So what's the point in getting attached to them? So as a result, he ended up messing with a lot of different women, and I remember he had a baby with a woman, and it was and the baby, he was real mad about that baby. Whew, I ain't never seen nobody talk. I was like, so what you been up to, man? He's like, man, got this fucking baby coming on. I was like, but you made the baby, Anyway, the funny thing, here's a funny little side note on this. So anyway, so as far as black women go, my loyalty has always been to black women. I could date a Latino woman again because they're African just like us, but that's as far as I personally wanted to go. Not because those women can't be appealing outside of that. It's just more so like I think that if you're gonna pick somebody, why not pick somebody from your own community, somebody who understands you? And then let's just be clear. Black women are just unique. Black women are just amazing. They're powerful. They're beautiful. They're smart. They're strong. Not all black women. Not every black woman. See, we use words like queen, and everybody wants to call every woman a queen. Some women are queens, and some women need to grow into their queenhood. So maybe you could still call everybody a queen and hope. And some of them, though, you're hoping one day you'll realize you're a queen. But let's not pretend like every black woman's a queen or every black man's a king. That's kind of silly. But at the same time, then again, though, given that we tend to grow into whatever we refer to ourselves as, why not refer to each other as kings and queens, right? If you're a parent, you have children, then you're the king and the queen of that household, right? So that's your value. Now, before I forget, I want to mention to you that if you are interested in teaching like things like wealth building to your kids, we actually created some flashcards for black children to learn different wealth building concepts. You can take a look at them at financialflashcards.com. That's financialflashcards.com. In fact, I think we still have a special. If you want 20% off, you can use the code word power. I only mentioned the word during my podcast, but you use the code word power, you can get 20% off for your kids. Also, if you want to learn how to get off the corporate plantation and quit your job, we have a great class in the Black Business School on that. The first month is totally free. You can sign up at idon'twantaboss.com. idon'twantaboss.com. I know that's a long name, but sign up for it. Go check it out. I teach the class with Noma Langham Mushali Moses on how to quit your job and get off the plantation. Now, with that being said, one other thing that I thought was funny, I want to tell you guys this little side thing that happened to me today, which was like, wow, this is so funny. There was some lady, I think her name was Ebony Hernandez. I think that's her name. Let me see if I don't even know this lady at all. But let me see. I'm gonna look to see, make sure I say the name right. Yeah, I think her name was Ebony Hernandez. And let me tell you what. Okay, yeah. See, my brother says I should put those links in my bio. You're right. I probably should. I just didn't even think about it, but you're right, man. If you come back and see me and they're not there, remind me again. But her name's Ebony Hernandez. I don't even know this sister, but listen to what she wrote. I thought this was so funny. She said, both Umar Johnson and Dr. Boyce Watkins have more than one child by different women. And after they allegedly came into the knowledge, the only problem I see is that while both of them sit around speaking out about a lack of black fathers in the household and speaking negatively of single mothers, neither of them have married the mothers of their children, or any woman for that matter. Neither of them have admitted to being a not so hidden hand in the very problems that they're so vocal about. See, I don't hate black men. I've just learned the difference between black men with a conscience who handle their business and work toward building strong families, and niggas with degrees, followings, and undeserved God complexes who talk and charge people to hear them boost their egos. Good morning. Okay. Anyway, I know, right? The sister saying, I've never heard you speak negatively about single black mothers. I don't. But I give you the stats. I give you stats on what's going on with, for example, child molestation. A lot of children, go look up the data. A lot of children are molested by their mother's boyfriend. So what I say to single moms is, number one, make sure you have a male role model for your child. Well, first and foremost, obviously, pick a good man to have a baby with. Don't let a man touch you if he ain't going to be a good father. If he's going to be a shitty father, don't even have sex with him, because sex creates babies. But then the second thing I say is make sure your children have male role models and a male protector. And then number three, be cautious about what man you let in that house, because a lot of men might seem to be great on the outside, but they got little demons, some of them, they got stuff going on, so you never know. But anyway, let me set the record straight on this Umar thing. Now I can't speak for Umar. I don't know nothing about how many kids Umar got or his life. I can tell you this. Let's just make this clear. And I hope Miss Hernandez checks this video out. And if you know her, please forward this to her and let her know she needs to do her research before she says stuff like this. Because technically people can sue you for stuff like that. Like, that's slanderous. I have one biological child. One child. That child was born when I was, her name is Patrice. She was born when I was 18 years old because I met her mama at Taco Bell. Her mama was the most beautiful woman in the world to me at that time. First girlfriend I ever had. Loved that girl to death. And then we discovered this thing called sex, and we did it, and we liked it, and we did it again and again and again and again, and it was great. And then next thing you know, though, she's pregnant. So my daughter was born when I was 18. I loved her mother to death. Loved her so much. Could have literally went my whole life and never ever dated another woman. Wanted to marry her mother, but her mother didn't want to marry me. You know, she chose to marry somebody else, and that's all I'll say about that because I don't want to be disrespectful to my child's mother. But you know, there wasn't no like, oh yeah, I'm a hit it and quit it dog. I don't hit this pussy, man. I'm gonna go out here and just go find me some more hoes to get. No, I'm not. I've never been that guy. I'm a nerd, by the way. In case you haven't figured this out, I ain't got no swag. My swag, you know what? The only swag I have. Here's the swag I have. I'm really smart. I have probably more education than most people I've ever met. And I'm not bragging. It's just true. I was in school a long time. When you get famous, you get swag. People think that you're a big deal because you're famous. Okay, fine, whatever. I'll take it. Okay, thank you very much. I work for this, right? I have a little bit of money and I understand finance and money and all that, but I learned not to brag about money because when you get a little money, you learn not to brag about how much money you got because you start bragging, then people start begging. Everybody wants to grab on and get some of that. So just so you know, when they have that old saying, more money, more problems, just know that is true. So when you get money, people that really got money don't stunt. They don't floss. They don't try to show off how much money they got. People that really got money hide that shit because when you start telling people what you got, they start coming to get a piece of it. So just understand that. As far as not marrying, here's the deal with that. Like I said, I would have married my daughter's mom. If she had me, I would have married. I would have did anything for this woman. I thought she was just the most beautiful thing ever. It took me years to get over that too. I was really sad about it, and it didn't help because at that time my self-esteem was just rebuilding. I didn't have high self-esteem at that time. Also, I did get engaged. I got engaged when I was I forgot how old I was, but I was engaged to this awesome woman, the black woman, the black Latina woman I told you about. And we chose not to get married for religious reasons. But you will never, ever, ever in 10 million billion years ever say one negative word about this woman because I thought she was one of the most angelic, beautiful creatures in the history of the world. But she also happened to be very religious. And I'm not religious. I don't go to church. So it doesn't mean I don't believe in God. It doesn't mean I can't respect people who have certain faith. But it means I'm cerebral. So I'm processing every little thing. And some of the stuff, if something don't make sense to me, then it can't make sense to me. So we chose not to get married because of that. And she'll tell you to this day that it wasn't like, oh, Boyce dumped me. Boyce decided not to marry me. He left me at the altar. None of that. I'm not that kind of man. I've never been that kind of man. Now, why didn't I choose to get married at that point? Well, marriage is hard. Marriage is complex. I mean, if you really want to understand the challenge, see, the thing about marriage to me is that somebody said you are your own guide. I don't think I'm a guide, but it has a question mark. I hope they're not asking me. Maybe they're asking somebody else. Marriage is one of those things. My belief is that if you're going to get married, you need to go read a bunch of books on how to negotiate disputes. And how to manage a marriage. If you're a man, you need to read books about women, how women think. If you're a woman, you need to read books about how men think. Because what happens is men and women are confused. They confuse the hell out of each other because our brains are wired differently. And it's like the woman says, well, he should have realized that if I was saying this and that, and then the man's like, man, if she had why would you even do that? That don't even make no sense. No, you need to go read books. There's a really good book I read by a white lady her name was Dr. Barbara DeAngelis. And the book was called What Women Want Men to Know. And I read this book and she broke down, she has one chapter, she interviewed thousands of women for this book, and she did one for men too. I had my ex-fiance read the book, and we were both like, after we read the book, because I read it, and she had one chapter called Inside the Mind of a Woman, and I'm reading like how women think, and I'm like, oh my God, this is fascinating. What, they really think this way? And I would call my friends and be like, okay, this woman has 20 things that turn a woman off. And I'm reading down the list, and it's like weird stuff for me. And it's like when you don't watch enough TV or when you eat potato chips. Now, I'm just joking. It wasn't stuff like that. But it was like, it might as well, it was like stuff where I was like, are you serious? That turns y'all off. Really. And my friends would be like, yep, absolutely. I hate when a man does it. And so what I learned then, what I figured out from reading that book is that I don't know as much as I think I know. And a lot of us think we know more than we do. And so really, that whole saying, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, you need to take that to heart, because I know a lot of people right now who are either divorced, going through a divorce, or who are in dead marriages where I ain't slept with my wife in 12 years, but we just pretend so that everybody thinks that that we're a good couple. I mean, in ugly divorces, there's a good documentary you should watch. I'm not telling you not to get married. I'm just telling you what I told my brother when he got married, in terms of saying to him, like, look, this is not easy. This ain't no like, oh, I love you, you love me, we gonna be a happy family type situation. This is something where you need to understand what it takes to make this thing strong, because this is hard work. Love ain't gonna hold it together. Just liking each other and wanting to have sex and thinking each other's cute, that ain't gonna work. So if you really want to know how a marriage works, just remember one simple stat. There's one simple stat I saw where they said they could watch a couple argue for like 5 minutes. They could watch a couple argue for 5 minutes and be able to predict with 90% certainty who was going to remain married and who was going to be divorced by watching them argue for 5 minutes. What does that mean? It means that every couple is going to have differences and disagreements, but the difference between the ones who make it and the ones who don't is how you handle your differences. Black people, in many cases, because we're so traumatized, are very, very quick to destroy relationships because we don't want to be re-traumatized. Or, oh no, girl, I liked him, but then he wore those ugly shoes, so I quit talking to him. I've literally heard people say stuff like that, like I dumped somebody because they wear ugly shoes, or because they smack when they chew, or because they didn't call me back one day, or whatever. And I'm just like, why would you think that you're supposed to get married if you're gonna dump somebody because they wore ugly shoes? Like, you really think you can make it through 90 years or 50 years or 60 or however many years you're supposed to have with, not 90 years, that's a long time, but you think you're going to make it that many years with somebody, decades with a person, when something that small can cause you to end the relationship? One bad argument, or a couple, or maybe a bad month, so anyway, when I started thinking about things that way, and I saw a good documentary that you should watch on Netflix called Divorce Corp, C-O-R-P, Divorce Corp. It was by Dr. Drew. Dr. Drew had a friend who went through a crazy divorce situation. And what Dr. Drew did was he did this documentary to allow him to basically break down the divorce courts and just how the divorce courts literally have created a $10 billion a year industry making money from people whose marriages have failed. They literally make billions of dollars because most Americans go into marriage, don't know what they're doing, and we just going through on a hope and a prayer, and then they end up in divorce court, and that's it. Now, I'm not making fun of people who've been divorced. A lot of people listening right now have been through broken relationships. Maybe you've done some things you shouldn't have done. Maybe bad things have happened. I'm not judging it at all. I'm just saying that there's a lot that happens in our society, in my opinion, that's not conducive to the same relationships that your grandma had. Like your grandma and grandfather, when they were married 70 years, they pretty much got married and just said, we're not going to get divorced no matter what. So that means that if grandpa was out, cheating a little bit, and he had a couple girlfriends, grandma would be like, yeah, well, I'm going to beat you upside the head if I catch you, but I'm not going to divorce you because you're my husband, right? Nowadays, that rule don't apply. Brothers, if you can't keep it, keep it in your pants, keep it in, with your woman, then chances are, you'll be labeled as a cheater. And once you get that labeling, then that means that people are okay with, you losing your money, losing your children, losing everything. So if you're not ready to make that commitment, don't make it. So at the end of the day, it's not to say that I was concerned about the commitment, but it was more like, when I started looking at my own life, and I don't like talking about myself like in this context very often, but maybe it'll help somebody. But I started looking at my own life, and I said, okay, I love my work. I'm dedicated to trying to do what I can to help the Black community. I take a lot of risks, meaning financial risks. I've put every penny I had into building my business, knowing that it might not work out and that I might be eating ramen noodles and beanie weenies for a little bit, And I'm like, man, I don't even know if a wife would even want to deal with that kind of stuff. And so that was what kept me from walking back down the aisle, was because I didn't want to put somebody else through what I went through. Like, I would look at, even when I look at Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, the fact that they were killed and what their families, the pain that caused their families. I said, I don't really think I would take those risks if I had a family. So really, to me, I think if you were going to be Martin Luther King, but the thing is, Martin Luther King, what he gave us was so much greater than just what he would give, say, a wife and some children. He gave something to the world. So it was worth it for him to do it. But should he have been married doing all of that? I don't know. Maybe in the 60s you kind of had to, because there was pressure. But I think now that the pressure is not really there as much, I don't really know how effective I would have been if I'd had, a spouse saying, "Oh, Boyce, you know what? You work so hard to be successful and everyone likes you and now you're famous. You don't want to mess that up by saying something controversial. You don't want to upset the Obama family because, you might have the chance to go hang out with the Chicago elite and bring in money to the household. But I don't care about those things." And so not being married allows me to really do what needs to be done without worrying about jeopardizing the freedom, the happiness, or the livelihood of somebody else. So anyway, that's a tough thing, because I'll have people that'll say like, "Oh, well, Boyce, you're not doing this and doing that." But I mean, I just do the best I can. I just try to be a good person. And I can definitely say to you that when I do date, I date black women. If I were to get married, you won't see me marrying a white woman. No disrespect to white women. I know there are white women who love me, who love what we do, and I appreciate that. But if I'm going to give my energy, my life to somebody, it's going to be a black woman. And I already give my life to several black women, including my daughters. When I say my daughters, I'm talking about my biological daughter and my other god kids. I've now taken responsibility. Now, that's probably why Ebony Hernandez was thinking that I had all these children floating around, was because what I did through the years was because I really wanted to be a father. When my daughter was growing up, I didn't get to really be in her life the way I wanted to. So because I really wanted to be a father, I used to just, if a kid came along that needed me, I really embraced that. I really enjoyed being a dad to those kids. So David, my son, you'll see David as someone. David's working with me now. David is, he's my son. He's been my son since he was born. I was there when he was born, and I love that kid like he's my own. I got Carmen, and there's Monique, and there's Taisha, and there's Chanel, and just all the people that kind of came into my life. And basically all the kids that are in my life, their fathers are either missing, were incarcerated, or dead. And so to me, I felt as a father that, if I really want to be a dad, I don't necessarily have to go make more babies. There are plenty of kids out here who need a dad, and and it's an opportunity, right? I don't see it as a burden. I see it as an opportunity. Now, mind you, there's a point where I can't take on no more kids, but I love the ones that have been in my life, and I think that's what people think. And I think that because people might invoke their own stereotype of a black man, you got black women, unfortunately, many black men who believe the stereotypes about black men. Like, you have black men that are doing well who believe every other black man ain't jack. You got black women, unfortunately, because they were scarred by a black man, who believe that all black men are garbage. And so women like, say, the Ebony Hernandez lady, who said this really ridiculous thing about me, me with, having all these kids. I think that in her mind, maybe she's heard me reference my children. She's like, "Oh, there you go, another black man who got a whole bunch of kids. He out here just making babies, and he just like the man who left me." No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but that's not who I am. I ain't perfect, but I'm not that guy. So anyway, and that's what I tell my daughters a lot when we talk about men. I'm like, just remember that, the man that you're with right now, that he's not that other guy, so you got to learn how to differentiate, because sometimes we carry baggage, and what it does is it makes us look stupid to the next person because we're thinking that they're the same as the person that we knew in the past. Just by the way, I want to make sure you know about this. If you want to take a look at the class that I teach with Damon Dash on Intelligent Boss Moves, we're actually giving away the first month free for just a little while, so you can go check that out if you want to sign up. Sign up for the first month. If you don't like it, you want to unsubscribe, because you'll be billed after 30 days. But the first month is totally free. That's at intelligentbossmoves.com. That's intelligentbossmoves.com. If you want to check out my new film about my grandmother and Black financial intelligence, you can watch the trailer at blackfinancialintelligence.com. That's blackfinancialintelligence.com. So you can pre-order the film at a huge discount, and I hope you'll go take a look. So anyway, I'm about to get out of here, but I will say this, when it comes to black women and marriage and all that, I would argue that that brothers that I never understood the brothers that only date white women. I think that's a little weird. Honestly, I think that if you only date white women and you don't like black women, you probably do have a mental illness. Now, if you date a white woman in the midst of everything else, like you just do the rainbow, then that means you're just like say Barack Obama. Barack did that. Barack dated white girls and stuff, but he's biracial, so it's his right. I'm not saying it's bad. He's half white. I mean, my God, but I tell you what, if you're excluding black women all the time, you probably need help. Something's wrong with you, man. Like, and then on top of that, I mean, from a personal standpoint, you're passing up some of the most amazing women ever. There's, black women got something special about them. If you don't believe it, then just go watch replays of the Olympics and just look at what they did at the Olympics. So black women are awesome, and sisters, I respect you, I love you, and I appreciate you. And I'm about to get out of here, guys. So I saw this conversation about the Damon John thing, and then I saw the note the sister wrote about me supposedly having all these babies, mamas, and I said, you know what, let me go ahead and just set some of the record straight. Because it's funny. One thing you should know: anybody out here who's trying to be quote unquote famous, like meaning in the public eye, just know that every year that goes by, people will make up more and more ridiculous stories about you. They will literally create fantasies about your life, and we'll talk about it like they know it. Like people will come back to me and stuff. I'll be like, why would they think that? Like, who would make up a story like that? And who had enough confidence to say this lie that they really thought it was true? Like, that's what's crazy to me. But anyway, I'm done. I'm getting out of here, guys. Talk to you soon. Love you, and have a wonderful day. Peace.